Before embarking on any policy discussions on pension reform, we need to understand the basic concepts of Social Security pensions. Those concepts will help us to evaluate the effectiveness of a national pension system and to develop policy options in order to ensure its long-term social and financial sustainability in the best possible way. Social Security pension schemes in many countries play the most important role in poverty reduction and income security for the elderly. As people grow older, their capacity to work and earn income is reduced. Private savings and intra-family transfers could, for some elderly, partially solve the problem, but they are not available to all elderly and cannot secure their income throughout their long old age lives. To reduce poverty and to secure decent income in old age, many countries have established Social Security pension systems. Social Security pensions have the largest share of social protection expenditures in most developed countries. Social Security pension has been and will be the most important income source in old age. Many Social Security pension systems have played a major role in income security for the elderly, but they need to be further strengthened through reforms because Social Security pension coverage needs to be improved. Only half of the elderly in the world receive Social Security pensions, and only 1 in 4 elderly people in developing countries receive pensions. Pension benefits often remain low, sometimes well below national poverty lines. Extensive non-contributory schemes are required for developing countries where a majority of workers are in the informal economy, and financing non-contributory schemes is a challenge. The global population is aging rapidly. According to the latest UN population projections, the share of the population aged over 60 years will almost double, from 12% in 2015 to 22% in 2050, and the speed of aging is much faster in developing countries. Understanding pension systems and their reforms is not easy, as there are many different designs with different social and financial implications. A pension is a long-term commitment to people. Its administration is complex, and its institutional size is huge. Therefore, reforming a pension system is a complicated task. The present video first outlines the history and development of Social Security systems, then explains the economic and social impacts, and illustrates the structure of different Social Security pension systems, and finally presents different dimensions of social insurance contributory pension schemes. We can start our review of the history and key concepts of Social Security pensions. At the beginning of the 20th century, only a few workers received old age pensions after retirement. They were mainly military personnel and civil servants. To be an old person meant being poor. Being or becoming disabled at younger ages meant that poverty began earlier. In developing countries, matters were a great deal worse. Incomes were substantially closer to or below subsistence levels. Life was nasty, brutish, and short. Social Security has its origin in the first compulsory social insurance system established between 1883 and 1889 by Prussian Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. The first social insurance system provided Germans aged 70 and above benefits for old age. Bismarck played a pioneer role in the creation of the modern welfare state in Europe and the world. A couple of decades later, in 1908, Great Britain introduced its first Pensions Act, creating non-contributory pensions, subject to a means test at age 70. It was only in 1948 that the social insurance system in Great Britain substantially expanded, based on the Lord William Beveridge report, to form a modern welfare state. The Bismarck pension in Germany and the Beveridge pension in Great Britain are two distinct Social Security pension models. The Bismarck system is characterized by a close link between benefits and earnings and benefits are financed by employees and employers' Social Security contributions. By contrast, the beverage pension system aims to reduce poverty and provides tax-financed universal flat-rate benefits or means-tested benefits. These two models, having different income effects in old age, still represent policymakers' key design options for reforming Social Security pension systems. While Bismarck and Beveridge laid the foundations for today's modern pension systems, pension benefits in the old days were low and subject to strict eligibility criteria. Now, most countries, primarily in the developed world, offer much more comprehensive and generous Social Security benefits. However, in recent years, a number of countries decided to cut back on Social Security pensions to reduce the financial burden of the state, and at the same time took steps to foster the development of private pension schemes. Most of these reforms have addressed the issue of financial sustainability, but have had negative impacts on poverty reduction and income security in old age. Over the past 2 decades, significant progress has been made in reducing poverty, especially for elderly people in many countries. However, the task of extending coverage and offering comprehensive Social Security pensions is only half finished, particularly in developing countries. Only 42% of people of working age today can expect to receive pensions in old age. It is now time to remind ourselves why Social Security matters and what role Social Security pension systems play. The reason why many countries create Social Security institutions and allocate resources to Social Security pensions is that they have many positive impacts on the economy and society. Let us look at some of these impacts. Reducing poverty. Social Security gives resources to people with reduced earning capacity, helping them to avoid poverty. Levels of overall poverty in developed countries would be twice as high as the actual level in the absence of social protection. Levels of poverty for the elderly age 65 and over would become 6 times higher. Reducing inequality. Social Security pension systems are a powerful tool to reduce inequality and hence contribute to sustained economic growth as well as social cohesion. A recent study found that the Social Security pension system in Brazil reduced inequality by 12%. Generating greater consumption and an automatic economic stabilizer. Social Security is an automatic economic stabilizer. It helps to maintain consumption regardless of the economic situation and enables quicker recovery from economic downturns. Throughout the recent economic crisis, many social protection measures stimulated aggregate demand and reduced adverse impacts on labor. Empowering people to pursue better opportunities and higher incomes. Guaranteeing people's income and health enables them to maximize their potential through education, training, entrepreneurship, and by taking more risks in job searches and selections. Achieving consumption smoothing over the life. Old age pensions free the resources for other members of the family. Older people do not have to rely on family support. Working generations use more of their income for future needs, and consumption is smoothed over one's life. Providing incentives for family support, enabling younger generations to work. Healthier and economically independent grandparents are more willing to take care of their grandchildren and free parents, especially mothers, to work. Better nutrition and access to education for children. Pensions could have positive impacts for the well-being of children, particularly in respect to nutrition and access to education. In South Africa, mainly due to better nutrition, girls in households with pensions were around 3 to 5 centimeters taller than girls in other households. Positive impacts on child poverty and education have been observed in Georgia, Bolivia, and Brazil. Supporting well-being, dignity, and social inclusion of the elderly. Pensions help elderly persons to keep their autonomy, have a profound impact on the well-being and dignity of older people, and support their participation in society. Now we are going to describe how Social Security pension systems are structured to meet the key policy objectives of poverty reduction and income maintenance in old age. In many countries, pensions are provided through multiple sources. From the perspective of achieving the key pension policy objectives of poverty mitigation and income maintenance after retirement, a national Social Security pension system is decomposed into two parts, namely a minimum income provision and a supplementary income provision. The minimum income provision provides a minimum basic income at old age, primarily aiming at poverty mitigation. The supplementary provision provides a certain percentage of working age income after retirement, primarily aiming, to the greatest possible extent, towards the maintenance of one's standard of living at retirement. The minimum income provision may be a contributory scheme financed by workers' and employers' contributions, or a non-contributory scheme financed by tax revenues. The supplementary provision is provided through contributory schemes and financed mainly by workers' and employers' contributions. Benefits are linked to contributors' earnings, contributory periods, or contributions. Minimum income contributory schemes include flat rate schemes, which provide flat rate basic pensions to those who satisfy a certain minimum number of paid or credited contributions, and minimum pensions provided under a supplementary contributory scheme. Minimum income non-contributory schemes include universal flat rate schemes, which provide a flat rate benefit to all elderly citizens or residents who attain a certain age. Universal pension-tested schemes, which provide a benefit to all elderly citizens or residents who attain a certain age and who do not have a better Social Security pension. And targeted means-tested schemes under which benefits are granted to elderly residents satisfying certain means tests. Schemes pay higher benefits to poorer elderly people or pay lower benefits to better off elderly people. Social Security pension systems combine contributory and non-contributory schemes in many countries in order to achieve universality in coverage. This is particularly true for developing countries with a majority of workers in the informal economy, where universal coverage is attained mainly by non-contributory schemes. Lower labor force participation, lower wages, higher rates of informal and part-time employment, as well as longer interruptions to care for children and the elderly, mean that women make smaller contributions for shorter periods to contributory schemes than do men, and thus obtain substantially lower benefits from contributory schemes. Non-contributory pensions play a major role in closing the gender gap of contributory schemes. Non-contributory pensions can serve as a foundation for further expansion of Social Security towards contributory pensions that offer higher protection levels. Many developing countries have recently introduced non-contributory pension schemes. Around 100 non-contributory schemes exist today, and around 1/3 of these schemes have been introduced since 2000.